Okay, so push factors once again, then generally it deals with middle class, it deals with people who are in developing or developed nations, right? You are trying to escape three of these main things: stressful work environment, living conditions, can be pollution, can be overcrowding, lack of recreation. Now we do have, actually seriously, I think we do have quite a bit of recreation, right, in Singapore. If you want to do outdoors, you can go to Sungai Buloh. You want to see a nice seaside, you can go to East Coast Park, go to Sentosa, where there's no oil spill. You still cannot use it now. The government says the oil spill is still there. Okay. You want theme parks? We have theme parks, right? Besides your famous Wild Wild Wet. Okay, the middle class are the people who suffer from this. The upper class actually don't suffer from this. The lower class don't have time to deal with it. They suffer from it, but they have no time to get a solution to this. Because this ensures livelihood. Okay, so only the middle class is the in-between. You have some leisure time, you still deal with this, so you're stuck. Okay, now let's think about, Megan has a good point. Why only middle class? If you're upper class, right, stressful work environments, what's your work around stressful work environment? You're the boss, so you are the source of the stress, right? You're the one who's giving people stress. So upper class really don't have this. If you are upper class in very unpleasant neighboring environment, so you live in a bungalow that nobody chose to trash away, is it? Because upper class live in large houses, right? Good districts, lower temperature. So they won't experience this. It's not within their realm of problems. Okay? Pollution, yes, they suffer pollution. Right? So what will they do? Maybe they migrate. There's nothing stopping them from migrating. Or they live in the country for a few months of the year. Like for example, now it's very warm in Singapore, right? If I was upper class and I don't need to do this day-end job, I don't need to do this job for sustenance, I'm not middle class, upper class, what can I do? I can move to Australia for 3 months, where now this period of time, average temperatures is 19 degrees. Nice, right? Okay, if I want it colder, I move to New Zealand, average temperature is 13 degrees. Then as I reach August, I move back to Korea, where it's once again cooler already. So I can keep hunting for this band, because money is not a problem for me. So this only deals with people in the middle class, okay? Which is the bulk of tourists. So because of those problems, what are they looking for? They look for places that give them what they don't have back home. Scenic beauty, real nature, okay? Real nature. I told my class just how the sand that we step on in Singapore don't belong to Singapore. So it's real, it's really not very natural. So if you want to enjoy a real beautiful beach, maybe you go to Tioman in Malaysia, or you go further, you go to Bali, right? Enjoy the seaside, the scenic beauty. Okay, of course, if you are richer, you go further away, there are equally nice places. Right? There are also special events that sometimes pull people. Can you name me one concert that you know of that will bring overseas people here to watch? Swifties, Taylor Swift. You're very boring, right? Is Taylor Swift the only big concert that you've seen recently? Coldplay? Coldplay as well? Coldplay is for old people, right? Hey, Coldplay was like, they looked like that when I was a teen. When I was in NUS. So they actually should be quite old, right? If they look 30s when I was in NUS, and that was 20 plus years ago, they should be in their 50s already. Like Green Day. Green Day is super old. Oh, good. You don't watch Green Day anymore. Hui Qing, you listen to Green Day. Good, you got taste. Right? Special events, these are things that will draw people as well. Okay? Attractions, things that you don't have. So once again, Singapore is a bad idea to talk about destination, because we have quite a lot of the human attractions already. Okay? So things like, if you're Singaporean and you want to go to Disneyland, where can you go? Nearest one is Hong Kong. It's not Tokyo. The next nearest one is it Tokyo? No, it's Shanghai. Hong Kong, Shanghai, then Tokyo Disney. Then you have the European ones and the American ones. Okay, so even in a country like Singapore, where we have our theme parks, there are still things that can attract you, can pull you there. Okay, special ones like Disneyland. Okay, but in next year you can go on Disney cruise. Next year 25, right? Yeah, next year you can go on Disneyland cruises. Okay, we are I think the first in Southeast Asia. Okay. Okay, besides all this, there's one more very important pull factor in terms of humans, which is what I actually talked about just now. Climate. Okay, so can you add in climate? Climate is actually increasingly one of the very big pulls, but climate has a problem. It doesn't exist on its own because you don't go to a place simply because it's 12 degrees. It's one of the reasons why you go there. But any one time, right, there are many places on earth that are having the same kind of climate. So why do you pick that place? Okay, so there are other factors, but climate increasingly is one key thing. Okay, how do I know? I pick my destinations based on climate most of the time. So if I go for a June trip, I will go to the southern hemisphere where it's having winter. If I go for a December trip, I will go northern hemisphere where it's having winter. Okay. Some of you may experience the reverse. Your parents may want this kind of weather. Yes. Push factors. Oh, okay. This is the middle class in these two areas. If you are not even developing, right, you're underdeveloped, then you don't have money to do any of this. So that's the thing. Okay, so these two areas, you have middle class people who have money to do this. Okay. Right, so these three are your key stakeholders in generating, okay, and regions, and they are mutually dependent. Right, if you don't have any of these three, generally your tourism industry will collapse. You need tourists, you need service staff, and you need a place for the service staff to work. Okay? Must it be like a 5-star hotel before tourism comes? No. Okay, you can start with very, very simple Airbnb style resorts and you still have tourism kickstarting. But these are your fundamental three. Okay? Okay. What are the problems with tourism? So I'm going to show you the first problem. If you have tourists, they are irresponsible. Like this gentleman over here. This is a young person. He was, I think, 15 years old. He went to Egypt. Luxor, one of the temples in Luxor, and he wrote his name on the wall of the 5,000-year-old temple. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see his wonderful face. So what do you think he used to write on the wall? Chalk. That's what I thought first. Do you carry chalk when you go on the tour? Yeah, so he carved it into the wall. I don't know what he used. It could have been a coin. It could have been a key. He carved his name into the 5,000-year-old temple wall.
Is it still there?
They have tried to buff it off, but you can still see faint because it's carved in. If you buff it completely off, means you have a depression. Means the poor carving is now deeper as a result of this. Did he get arrested? No, because it was only found out after he had left the country. Who found it? Another Chinese person. Because he carved it in Mandarin, right? Then everybody don't know what it is, right? So another Chinese tourist on a subsequent tour group saw it, took a photo and posted it on Chinese social media. What were the punishments? His parents were fined, their passports were confiscated. He was actually not allowed to have a passport for I think 15 years. So until he's 30. Is that very serious? Okay, so you think about you're 15, oh, you are the same age now. If as punishment, right, the government decides to not give you a passport for 15 years, how will that impact your life? You can go Sentosa. You can't go out of the country. You can go to Malaysia. No, you have no passport. You will not generate the QR code. you wouldn't know. You're punished already. How? Can you go on school trips? In the next 15 years, what are the things that you would want to do besides holidays, overseas? Study? After A-levels, if you want to go overseas to study, you have no passport, how are you going to go? Cannot go. If you study here, one of the unis here, you have an overseas attachment for 6 months. You cannot go, you have no passport. So the impact is very great, especially for a young person like this. The impact is very, very great. Removal of travel rights is a very big problem. Okay? Do you think it's fair that the government do this to him? Yeah. Hello, this is a 5,000-year-old wall. What will possess you to go and write your name on the wall? You're possessed by the Pharaoh, is it? Or possessed by the Romans? The last time these walls were graffitied like this was by the Romans. The Roman Empire, when they overran Egypt, they did something similar. But they were not tourists, mind you, they were the new rulers. So they decided that this religion is not right. I want to paint my Christian symbols all over it, and they did it. Okay? Because when I visited the temple, the tour guide showed us, see, this is what the Romans did to us. They painted over everything. Then after the Romans lost, the Egyptians removed all the graffiti, except for a little bit to remind themselves that if you get overrun, this happens to you. Okay? The religious sites get run over. Okay? So this fella, okay, I have a problem with this fella because this link cannot be found. Copy. So I always have to do this. It's so silly. No, autofill. How do I paste? Okay. Chinese. So angry I typed wrongly. Tourists. Chinese tourists has a lot of interesting autofills. This is quite old. This is quite old. Why is it so loud? Okay, let me turn the volume down first.
Discover amazing flight deals on thetrip.com.
Anytime, anywhere. Fly for less with Dakota. Download now.
As they were disgusted at those actions, the tourist, Sir Nation, said, "It was the saddest moment during my stay in Egypt, and I felt ashamed. We tried to wipe out the shiny tissue, but it was difficult to clear that, and we could not."
Yeah, I watch things at 2 times speed like you. So global news.
A Chinese schoolboy has been caught defacing an ancient Egyptian temple just a few days after China's government attacked uncivilized tourists for ruining the country's reputation abroad. Chinese visitors to the Luxor temple were outraged when they spotted the graffiti reading, "Dingenhao was here on 3,500-year-old hieroglyphics on the wall of the temple." They posted a picture of the graffiti written in Chinese online along with comments expressing their disgust at the boy's actions. The tourist, surnamed Shin, said, "It was the saddest moment during my stay in Egypt, and I felt ashamed. We tried to wipe out the shame with tissue, but it was difficult to clear it out, and we could not use water as the relief is a historical relic 3,500 years old." All of the 14 members of our tour group kept silent after seeing the sentence, as we felt ashamed. The post prompted an online search which revealed Ding's identity, his date of birth and his school in Nanjing in East China's Jiangsu province. The parents of a 15-year-old Ding Junhao have since issued a groveling national apology to their fellow countrymen over their son's behavior.
Okay, is this the only bad behavior? No, just now you saw, right? When you search Chinese tourists, there are millions and millions and millions of things that they do. But I want to remind everybody, it is not because they are Chinese tourists. There are tourists that do this regardless of what nationality you're from. Okay, one key reason is because they don't know the customs of their place, and they don't know that they cannot do certain things. And back home, there may be no law against this. Okay, now you may be then wondering, which country doesn't have a graffiti law, right? So this is blatant, right? If you go and vandalize a wall in China, do you think you'll get away with it? China too big. So too big, then nobody will bother. No. If you go to the Imperial Palace, the Forbidden Palace in China, right, and let's say you take your coin and you scratch the number 1 on one of the pillars. It's made of wood. You definitely can scratch it. What do you think will happen to you? Arrested and punished, maybe jail. It's a Chinese jail, hardcore one. It's not Singapore jail. Not Denmark jail also, it's a Chinese hardcore jail. Like North Korea like that. So would you do it? If you're a Chinese citizen, I think the punishment will be double. Right? So what would have motivated this person to do this? Okay, maybe he went to the Great Wall of China. Maybe he saw that people vandalize the Great Wall of China as well. Okay? Any of you been to the Great Wall of China? No? Right? You see graffiti at certain points? No? It's very clean? Good. Right? Maybe they've cleaned up. Okay? So these are things that are problems that will come. Okay? With human exhibits. Right? With nature, this is the other thing. So when you are having natural landscapes that you expose to your tourists, sometimes having too many tourists will also affect it. Waitomo is a unique case example. Waitomo Caves is a cave that is filled with glowworms. So I think I've always had students who've been there when I talk about this. You take a boat, the boat goes through the cave and comes out. What is controlled is they control how many humans are in the cave at any one time. Because as humans, you breathe, the carbon dioxide level cannot spike. If it spikes, the glowworm will die. So they control that. Otherwise, you just meet 3 bars of Chinese tourists and no more cave really. Right? So they control everything. They control what you can bring in, so there's no littering into the water. They want to maintain the ecology of the place. Okay? It's very magical. It looks very pretty inside. There are several 360 videos, which I don't want to show here because it doesn't come out well. So on your slides, if you click on this should be the 360 video link. You can actually move around and you look at it. In the dark, it looks like the night sky filled with stars. Okay, I've never been fortunate enough to visit Waitomo, but it's well preserved, so I think maybe when I'm like really old and retired, I can still go. Okay, unlike the Great Wall. So, in terms of other benefits, right? With this, what are some of the common benefits? Okay, or disadvantages first, right? If you talk about pollution, tourism brings 8% of greenhouse emissions. So if you can stop all tourism, then you will reduce greenhouse gas pollution by 8%, but you will lose $4 trillion in the global economy. Okay? There are some countries that are more affected by tourism, some less, but all countries have some form of tourism. Okay? Okay, so your key push for all this is money. Once again, this is human job. Everything is human job. You need to relate back to money. Okay, back to money. Right. I will not do economic downturns. I will do it later on. So I'm going to go on and ask you to think about a trip. So we're in term 3 already. Term 3, there is one break. Your sec 3, you won't go for the break. End of the year. End of the year. Is there a place that you would like to visit end of this year? Think about it. Okay? A country or a city. Now, think of why did that place come into your mind? Why do you want to visit that place? Was it one of the push factors we talked about earlier? Is it a pull factor? Is it a push factor that you are facing here? Do you tend to go on trips end of the year instead of middle of the year? Why? More time? Or because you have two months, right? In secondary school. In primary school, Primary school is about the same. It's slightly, I think, 1 month and 2 weeks more only. Primary school June is 4 weeks, right? End of the year is 6 weeks. 6 weeks. They have a lot lesser than you. Did you go for June holiday in primary school? Why? Why don't you want? Not long. Wow. Okay. Quick poll. How many of you have gone for a holiday in your life that is more than 1 month in duration? 1 month long. Okay. 3 weeks long. 2 weeks. Okay. So generally, it's safe to say most of us, our vacations are about 2 weeks max. So whether it's June or December, it's okay, right? June, there's homework. Not me, I let you have your Yeah, I always let you have a break. Because I don't want to die marking when I come back. Is it true that December you tend not to have work? Sec 1 to Sec 2? They still give, right? They still give, right? Not as much, okay? Is there something that happens after June when you come back? Exams. But you have exams in term 1 too, right? Okay, so this is important. What maybe for a teenager, your tour duration and tour timing is largely bound by your main job, which is student. Okay? What about your parents? Do your parents take vacations without you? No, so poor thing. So their vacations are all with you along? Yeah. That's quite sad, right? Good. When did she leave you at the grandma's house? How old were you? You can feed yourself already, right? In kindergarten, could you feed yourself? Yes, good. I think that's enough time. So as an adult next time, do you think you will venture that way as well? To find your own me time? Because bear in mind, as an adult, you have all the push factors that we talked about earlier. Work stress, pollution, everything applies to you as an adult. Okay? Now, what are the reasons that we want to travel? Okay, there are several reasons we'll run through. I'll run through a few of them first. Okay, number one is world is shrinking. Right, key thing is affluence. So people have more money. So the first thing they do is when they have surplus, you eat better food. After there's eating better food, there's only that much food you can eat. You think of ways to spend your money, and you want to go and travel and learn about other cultures. Also, so that you come back and flaunt to your friends. No? Good. If it doesn't happen, that's good. Okay? So who are these dominant travelers? In the 80s and 90s, the people who traveled the most were the Japanese. They had a lot of money. Okay? The economy was booming. As you come to the 2000s, who were the new babies of the travel industry? The mainland Chinese people and the people from the south, from the Indian Peninsula, right? Largely the Indians and the Chinese form the bulk of the travelers now, globally. Okay? Are there other travelers? Yes, the Americans have always been big. The Europeans were big, now they are smaller because the economy is not as strong anymore. Okay? So if you look at these three groups in Asia, they are the rising stars of travel. Okay? They are the ones who are developing rapidly, the ones who have more money, the ones who are under a lot more stress at work, so they are the ones who go for travel. Interestingly, if you look at the road signs in Singapore, you know which are the big tourist origins that we serve. Okay, we have road signs that are, in the past, Japanese, Chinese and English. But now, you see Korean street signs as well, in certain tourist areas. Because we have more Koreans. We have a lot more Koreans. You don't see? Yes. We also have a lot of signs in Malay, not only because the national language is Bahasa, but the regional tourists, they are largely able to speak and read Malay. Now the final one over here is very important. Tech is on our side. This idea of safer, faster and more comfy. Okay, so I'm going to bring you through an exercise to think about what this actually means. Okay, so we earlier on talked about ways to travel, right? There are many ways we can travel. I'm going to introduce you to my new invention. Have you seen this door before? Okay, this is Doraemon's famous teleportation door. So I and my friends, we have come together, we've designed it, and it is ready in real life. What can it do for you? It can teleport you instantly. Any distance, 1 second. 1 second is not like that, 1 second is 1,000. 1 second. So there is some travel time. I walk through the door, 1,000. I arrive at my destination. Is this a good idea? Up to point number 2. Great idea, right? Now I have a slight problem. Like all new inventions, there is a 90% transfer rate. But it's only $100 per trip, one way. So you go and you come back. So will you use this when you're very late for school already? From school, from home to school, your bed, you get up, you step through, you're in class. Why? Because it's $100. You just slay, man, just do it. Okay? If it's $30, will you use it to get to school? Okay, if it's $3, will you use it to get to school? $3 is more than MRT fare. But it's instantaneous. Means you get an hour extra sleep every day. Think about it. But bear in mind, I wish to remind you I have a 90% transfer rate. What does that mean? Okay, so you look at your body, right? 90% means 90% of your body will make it across. So hey, come on, to be fair, right? You have a large body, right? So 10% is maybe like 1 palm. Okay, let's not think of palm because some of you like your palms, right? Like all your hair. Okay, or 3 of your toes. Why? You don't need all your toes, right? You wear your shoes anyway, but nobody can see your toes. So is this a big problem, 90%? Okay, what if it's 95%? So, okay, how many of you will take the risk? Okay, let's adjust. Let me make it cheaper. So in 5 years' time, I'm able to reduce this cost to $5 per trip. Okay, and I'm able to improve this to 95% transfer rate. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what you will lose. Maybe you lose all the body fat. That sounds great, right? But you could lose 5% of your brain. Because I really don't know. I really don't know. How?
You think you'll definitely lose something or
Yes, you'll definitely lose something.
What if you lose your heart?
Yeah, so you don't worry, your heart is too big for 5%. Maybe you lose 2 valves in the heart. You still have 2 valves. No, cannot. Okay. So I tell my friend we work harder, right? I give you 95% transfer rate, but only 1% of the time you travel, this will happen. 99% of the time you travel, you will fully transfer. But there's this 1% chance you will lose 5% of your body. 99% success rate, just take 99 times, the 100 times, don't take up. Hey, Jerica start to sway already. Okay, if it's 99% chance of success, 1% chance failure where you lose 1% of your body. 1% is only maybe 1 pinky. Like this. So it can be any part of your body, this volume. If it's the heart, yeah, okay, that could be a problem. If it's your brain, you don't use all your brain anyways. Right, your pinky, like maybe you lose your earlobes. That's okay lah, that's bad, right? No? Yeah, you'll be perfect, right? You just go across with the thing missing in it. You wouldn't even notice it. Like all good salesmen, I tell you, you wouldn't even notice it. But it's so fast, it's so cheap and so fast, and it's any distance. You won't? So, what is this? Tech is on our side. We have made it safer, faster, and more comfortable to travel. We don't even need to go to that point for you to start traveling. Okay, what have we done to this? We've invented planes, jet engines. Now, I want to bring this back to you. Because this is something very new, we have never heard of a rubbish invention like this before, right? So we're very adverse to it. Do you know the final risk level that I talked about? The 99% chance success, 1% chance where you only lose 1% of your body is better than flying. It's safer than flying. It is safer than flying, and yet you don't want it. It is safer and cheaper than flying, and yet you don't want it. No, but the risk every time you fly is going to be higher than the risk you take this. Every time you take this, it's safer to take this than fly.
But you never tried it before.
Yeah, but if the statistics show this, you should adopt this. Okay, you should. Logically, you should. That's what do you mean? No, it doesn't. You travel there, gone means gone. It gets absorbed into the wilderness. No, if somebody takes a plane right to somewhere and the plane crashes, can reset, respawn. Press F5, respawn. No, right? It's the same theory behind it. So, is the success rate actually a big concern for tourists? No, it isn't. If you tell me I travel by train, the accident rate for train versus plane, train is worse. By coach is worse than train. Train is worse than plane. Plane is worse than this. So, if this has been around for 15 years, do you think you will bat an eyelid when I show you this? You wouldn't, because there will be enough daredevils who will try it, and you will realize that the success rate is so much higher. It's safer than flying. This is safer than flying. Mind blowing, right? Okay? So please don't be misled by data alone. If you're dealing with something, look for common reference points that you're comfortable with already. Is it a useful thing? Okay? If someone comes to me and presents the 90% transfer rate, 90% of the time at $5 per trip, I will go. I will go to the States. Because it's safer than flying to the US. And much more comfortable. Well, what if I fly on a plane to the States and it disappears over the Pacific Ocean? The likelihood of that happening is higher than the likelihood of me losing a leg.
Once you select, how do you get across?
Yes.
But it's like, once you got the know, you got be like how it's like you need to randomly appear somewhere.
Yes, you randomly appear somewhere in the location.
That's this similar to the plane. It's like this go out of that you get shot from the suspect.
Oh, okay. So there are other endpoint concerns. Good point. Right. If I can control where I end up, would that affect your choice? Right. So I bring this back. My favorite use case for this actually was really classroom. Imagine you have this door and you have a door like this, an endpoint in your classroom. I would use it to no end, no? I would just wake up at 7:25, put on my uniform, step through the door. I'm never late. Never gonna have a demerit point in my life. I forgot to bring my book to school. Step through the door. Yeah. $5. I'll pay, man. Yeah. So you don't bring your bag along, you lose some. Don't run the risk of losing your books. That's an interesting one. So I guess there are different kind of concerns. Okay. Motivation to travel, why do we need this? Right, your life, once again, I bring you back to middle class because we're middle class in a developing country. We have many things that bother us. Okay, as a child, as an adult, these are things that create stress. Okay, so you need relaxation because of the stress. Okay. This one, what in the world is this? Oh, so one is something that you don't do every day, but for a moment takes your mind away from everything else. This thing over here is a roller coaster ride that I took very, very recently. But I wonder why they were allowed to film, because when I took it, I wanted to bring my camera along with me. They said, no, I cannot have the camera with me. So I'm going to show you this ride. This is something that actually, for me, I hate it. I really hate this kind of things, but it's a good way to take your mind away from something. So under the playlist, it is this one. No extra. Talk too much about tourism.
You were made to take the next big step. We were made to package great deals.
So app experience. I don't know how he could film this. You're not allowed to have a camera. No, I had it strapped to me. The guy walked to the carriage and told me you have to take out. I don't know how you don't scream. I was screaming the entire way. Yeah, it's a very short ride. There was no queue but the ride was less than, I think, a minute. It was less than a minute. But it was very, very, very mind-blowing. At the end of the ride, right, when it first stopped, I couldn't really tell you my name if you ask me. My brain just wasn't there. Okay? So these are some of these things that we hunt out. Why do we hunt for this? Because this gives you relaxation from the highly stressed environment you're living in. Okay? This gives you relief. This is why people go to places like this. Okay? Is there a more docile way of thinking about this? Yes. You know when you go to Disneyland and then you dress up as the princess when you were young, or when you go to USS and then you buy the head accessory and you pretend you're Mario, or you pretend you're Shrek. Okay, you don't pretend you're Shrek, I pretend I'm Shrek. Alright, what are you doing? You're trying to escape from your normal daily life. By participating in that environment, you are escaping from daily life. Right? So, are there people who go to places like this and don't participate? Yes. I live with one such person. So, many years ago when I was in Hong Kong Disney with my daughters, my younger one wanted to talk to Cinderella. So she ran up to Cinderella, and Cinderella told her, oh, I'm going back to my castle now. Then Cinderella walked off. You know what my wife did? My wife side-eyed Cinderella. And she just told me, it's a kid. Doesn't hurt her to stop for a while, right? I said, she's in character. She cannot break character and talk to your kid. So there are people who go there and don't enjoy this. Okay? So then what about these people? Then they need to seek different types of tour destination. So there's no one tour destination for everybody. Depends on what your intent is. Okay? Right? So what will a person like that maybe enjoy? Maybe they need something for personal growth. So for them, they may want to go and learn cooking when they are on tour. Learn a new skill when you're on tour. Visit a museum when you're on tour. Instead of going for an experience like that, they want to actualize something, learn something from the process. Correct? So everybody is different, huh? Everybody is different. Now, why is it that your family tour or your family holidays are designed a certain way? Largely because there are some needs that need to be ticked. So a typical Singaporean family holiday will have some culture and heritage, some theme park experience, some museums, a lot of shopping. No? Right? Some of you will have outdoor experiences if your family prefers the outdoors, but there will be a mix of things, and that's normal. Okay? Any of you attended overseas cooking experiences before? No? Make cup noodles at the Cup Noodle Museum? Right? These are unique experiences that are very common in Singaporean children. Okay? Do you know you can do it in Malacca? there's a mummy museum that allows you, that makes you, that has that cup noodle experience as well. Okay? So it may not be far away, it could be near us, but these are things that you're looking for. Okay? Pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is the final one. I think I will stop at pilgrimage. I will show you what the pilgrimage looks like. I believe I have the pilgrimage one in my playlist, but it's faster to do it this way. Pilgrimage. Hajj. This one.
Seven software. If Khalid Erwin did that, don't give seven software a chance.
I'm Mecca. And this is about as quiet as it gets.
So this is a pilgrimage to Mecca. Every good Muslim. Every Muslim is supposed to go on the Hajj if you are able to, as part of the requirement of a Muslim. Okay, as a person who practices Islam, you are supposed to go on a Hajj. Okay, there are two pilgrimages that you can go at Mecca. The main one is called the Hajj. The second one, I'm very sorry, I don't remember what it is. I'll go and check and I'll let you know. This thing traditionally cannot be filmed. In the past, right, there's no record of what goes on in the Hajj. It's only recounts because they don't allow people to film. But with the advent of the handphone camera, you can't stop people from carrying their handphones. So increasingly, there were more and more displays of it. So there are a lot of these videos. If you search pilgrimage Hajj Mecca, there are many homemade videos of people going on Hajj. Oh, I'm here, I'm doing this now, blah blah blah. But this isn't. This is a true documentary. Okay, Vice is a channel. This reporter went with his parents on the Hajj and he filmed the process. Okay? So if you go for the Hajj, to count as pilgrimage tourism, you need to do everything they do. 2 times fee. Okay, so you read the subtitle. Okay, 1.75.
Hajj is the largest annual pilgrimage in the world. It happens in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. And for Muslims, it's required that they have to do once in their lifetime. The Saudi government estimated last year there were over 3 million pilgrims to attend. The unofficial number is much higher.
About 4 million a year now.
They're practicing Muslims. And last year, they decided it was time for them to perform Hajj. So I went with them to help them with their journey, but also for myself as well. It was the first time for all of us. And I didn't go thinking I was going to make a VBS documentary. I just took the smallest hand cam we had in the office and literally shot from there. You're not allowed to shoot in most of the holy places, so this is the footage I managed to sneak out. We flew on Saudi Arabian Airlines. It was about a 10-hour flight from JFK to Medina, where we spent 6 days getting mentally prepared for the Hajj that we were about to embark on. In pre-Islamic times, Medina was a place where the travelers who were crossing the desert in camel caravans would come to rest. It was kind of like a desert oasis. In modern times, it's kind of the same thing, but there are less cabins and more shopping malls and hotels. There's also a stunning mosque there called the Prophet's Masjid, which is the second holiest site in Islam. When you're there, you basically just go to the mosque 5 times a day, 6 days straight, to get into a meditative state.
Okay, so before you actually proceed on the Hajj itself, you need to be in the correct frame of mind. So can you go there and don't do the 6 days of meditation? No, you cannot. So think about it. That's before the actual event is already 6 days. How much leave does an average working adult have? Right? So that's also why a lot of adults don't go on the Hajj until they retire, until they're a bit older, because they don't have time. This is a very substantial period. Pilgrimage.
The mosque is huge. It holds almost 700,000 people, and when we were there for the Friday prayer, it was pretty much full.
Wow.
Flying to Mecca from Medina was really interesting. Before we went to the airport, we cleansed ourselves in a very specific way, and then we had to put on a white, seamless garment made out of cherry cloth that all pilgrims have to wear, and it's a renunciation of the life that you come from, and it's supposed to put everyone on the same level. There's no upper class or lower class. Everyone's the same, just you and the sheep, and that's it. This is called getting into a state of Iran. Besides the clothes, there are a lot of other rules. You can't smoke, you can't have sex, you can't shave, you can't cut your nails, and there are a bunch of other rules. So we got on this charter just for the pilgrims, and 10 minutes after the plane took off from Medina, the captain announced that we'd flown over a destination point and we were in the zone near Mecca, and we all had to start reciting prayer. And our route guide got onto the loudspeaker system of the airplane and started yelling prayer. Everyone started chanting it. And I had a moment where I looked around and saw all these men and women in the white robes, the men with their beards. And just thought, someone from the West would see us right now. They'd think we were a bunch of fanatical jihadis on some kind of insane mission. When in reality, it was just pilgrims intended to go on the spiritual quest. I think what was most odd about this flight were the flight attendants who were all Filipino, wearing their normal Saudi flight attendant outfits, looking like they would rather have any other gig in the world than this one. And then in Jeddah, took a bus to Mecca, and that ride into the city was one of the wilder scenes I've ever seen in my life. There were all these pilgrims coming from all directions in all kinds of vehicles, and you see them riding cobs of cars and vans and buses. I remember seeing pilgrims jumping from the roof of one bus to another. Everything's just fighting in the city. Mecca is not a very big city, and during the year it's a relatively mellow place, except during the week of Hajj. The city completely transforms. And half the challenge of completing your Hajj is getting all these rituals done in a very strict timeline, dealing with the fact that there are about 3 million other people there trying to do the exact same thing at the same time.
Okay, so what you've seen so far, right, is typical of a pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is not fun. It's not about enjoyment. It's about doing a set of fixed things and a location. Okay, it's about you and your religion trying to get connection, trying to find yourself in religion. So whichever religion it is, if it's a pilgrimage, it tends to be like this. You need to look like you're enjoying yourself. You need to abstain from things that are stimulus to yourself. Food is simple. The transportation is very, very basic. Right? And it's in the middle of the desert. So think of the weather that you're going through. Okay? That kind of climate, there isn't the basic thing like a toilet. How do you think you're going to entertain 700,000 people all needing to use the toilet at the same time? So that's just one problem, right? So this is not going to be a very pleasant experience. Okay? Now, if you know someone who has been to the Hajj in their March about 30 years ago, it was even worse than this. That was when it was really underdeveloped. Now it's able to do, I think, 3 million in a month. 3 million pilgrims in a month.
You need to pay.
Yes, you need to pay. You pay for everything. Okay, you will pay for sleeping out under the stars the night before you do the process. So it's not all fun. Huh? Pilgrimage is really not fun. Last bit.
Book low-cost flights now. Download the Trip.com app and discover amazing travel deals.
After we checked into our hotel in Mecca, we walked towards the Grand Mosque, which is also known as the Masjid al-Haram.
So look at the mosque is so pretty.
And it's a massive structure. This mosque can hold upwards of 4 million people with its outdoor and indoor space, which during Hajj is technically the largest gathering of people in the world at any given time. This mosque is what Muslims pay towards from all over the world. And as you're walking towards it, you feel the anticipation that people have been waiting their whole lives to come to this place. And once you enter the mosque, then you see the Kaaba. The Kaaba is a black box in the center of the Grand Mosque, and it was built around 2000 BC. And people have been praying towards it since before Islam started. And when Prophet Muhammad finally showed up, he cleaned up the place, got rid of all the idols that the pagans had been worshipping, and reordained the building as the house of God.
What's it rotating?
It's not rotating, the people are walking around it. I cannot remember how many circles. There is a fixed number of circles you need to walk around this location. There is also another location where you're supposed to throw a stone at one of the pillars. Okay, so there are many checkpoints. It's like the Amazing Race, but the timeline is tight and there are 3 million other people doing the same thing as you at the same time. So can you imagine you're walking, okay, now if I tell you all have to walk around the pavilion over there. Right? All of us have to walk 5 rounds around the pavilion. There's enough space for us to walk without hitting one another, right? If I tell you the whole school need to walk around the pavilion at the same time, I will stand here. Right, because you have a choice, because stampede is a big problem. Okay, it looks very trippy, right? It's like the whole place is like shifting, but it's actually the humans walking. But you don't see sudden movement, you don't see pushing, because everybody knows what they need to do, and they don't want to cause stampede. Have there been stampedes before? Yes. Okay. I think we have never seen a Hajj period with no deaths. Never. Okay? Let that sink in. It's quite scary.
When the Grand Mosque, we had to do our first ritual, which is called the Tawaf, which is basically doing 7 counterclockwise laps around the Kaaba.
7.
And it's kind of like being in a mosh pit with hundreds of thousands of people. But instead of it being full of angry young punk kids, we were up against aggressive Bangladeshi grandmothers. I had my parents on each arm interlocked, and we held each other as we went around the structure 7 times. You're staring at the Kaaba. It's a very intense and heavy vibe. But the one thing that's a total bummer is you look up and all you see are these massive luxury 5-star hotels for the super rich Muslims who won't pay from the confines of their room.
So I stop here because he mentioned something very unique. If you are super rich, right, you actually don't have to walk with them. You can pray from the luxury hotels. Because the key thing is you must view the thing. How rich must you be? Upper class. Generational wealth. That one is a separate process. So there are certain things that you can get private access. Pilgrimage, one of the key types of tourism, right? Is self-fulfillment, is part of this, one of the key things that we're looking for. Okay, so I will continue with unique travel experience. Let me go and hunt for a few more of my friends' photos. This is one of my friends. Okay, she retired and she went to Antarctica. End of last year. Also a 3-week long holiday. Okay. Right, so I'll stop here. Any questions?